So my first question, hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
That wasn't a question, was it? Well, it was a question. We're at Porcfest. You're both newbies to Porcfest?
Yeah, first year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, first time in New Hampshire even.
I mean, we've heard about it. I've known about it for over 10 years. I think you have as well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
15?
just our first time finally able to come out. So.
How'd you find it?
Maps.
Oh, how did we find it? Oh, do you mean like how did we literally physically find it?
Well, no, not literally physically.
How
did
was
you
it?
discover Porcfest? This beautiful community of mostly crazy libertarians who mostly love each other.
Well, I mean, just online, like, I've just heard about it for a long time. It was something, I guess looking back, the first person I knew that went was Stefan Molyneux. He went years ago, like 2013 or something. So I just saw, like, video clips of him and being on stage with, I think, Bob Murphy at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I bet you Bob Murphy's probably been here.
Yeah, so that was the first time I saw it, and I was like, that was just one little slice of it.
Yeah.
So coming here was, like, blew my mind. I wasn't expecting all the fun experiences. I wasn't expecting seeing so many children running around, selling whatever, or just playing.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one kid who's, like, selling pickles.
Yeah.
and he's like...
Did you buy a pickle?
No,
Oh.
because we have to go to Florida. I don't know if we could transport a thing of pickles. I'm really
He
tempted.
needs like a pocket pickle protector, so we can actually
if
transport
it's
that with us.
if it's like a
Yeah.
Are you going to comply to the state like that?
Well, the kid is way richer than most people here at
Yeah.
this point now. He's sold
he's got
inordinate
gold
number of
backs.
pickles.
He's got.
He's cornered the market.
Yeah, he's really cornered the pickle market here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He also said, he's like, I found out Asians really like spicy sour things. And I was like, I
that
really
was a
like it
revelation,
too.
He went straight to his target market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? On that note, I'm gonna go find him and buy like just one pickle and
Yeah.
just eat it right there.
Yeah. That's.
I don't have to buy a jar. So.
I mean, I like the, part of the culture here over the years is, and I don't remember the first time I was here, but it was at least 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And it was a lot of young people like you guys who have since hooked up, gotten married or whatever, and now there's a new generation of Porcfesters.
Oh, okay.
And all of these young people are being sort of radical entrepreneurs and
Yeah. They said there's like more kids than there's ever been, which is really cool because you get to see children both be armed and laboring at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't get that everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
you definitely don't want to cheat them on anything. They're going to come after you with a slingshot. So, yeah.
What about you, Jack? When is same story?
I got a different story. So it's kind of crazy. There's a guy here named Neil Connor who was the person who introduced me to the Free State Project at Porcfest back when we were in college together. So we're talking something well over 15 years ago, and he's actually here. So I got to see him. I was like, whoa, you're here? He's like, oh, you made it. I'm like, yeah, finally. I've known about Porcfest since, way back in the day. I'm a big Liberty nerd, so I, kept track of what's going on and kind of vicariously lived through people. And now it's awesome to actually be here and be like, oh, okay, this actually is kind of like the libertarian mecca. It's amazing how many people are here from all over the the internet. You're used to seeing them online, but now you're here and like, oh, you're real. Okay.
We've met a lot of people that we've only ever known on the internet, and some for years, and for you, like some over a decade.
Yeah. One guy, I met
David.
Were you
15 years.
surprised that they were flesh and blood?
Yeah, I mean, I touched to make sure that I got consent, of course, but I was like, okay, yeah, you're real, okay. So, it's been a blast. It's been absolutely amazing.
So what have you guys done? I haven't seen a single thing you've done, I'll admit, ahead of time, but you had different events, talks. What did you do?
Yeah, so on Tuesday we had a concert night, and we showcased like 8 of our songs, and I'm a rapper. I love rap and hip hop, but we've also like rock music and do singing as well. We also like to experiment with different kinds of sounds. Like we've done 80s music, we've done country music. So we're really trying to bring the message of liberty through music. And that's one of the things we do. I also make memes every day and videos. I also stream every month as well. So you can find a lot of videos that I've made in the past 8 years. on different topics like the non-aggression principle, consent, gun control, and why that's wrong. And yeah, so just trying to, in all the different mediums that we produce, really just trying to bring the message and the principles of liberty in a medium that hopefully is accessible to a more mainstream audience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I've seen some of your rap videos. Your rant against lockdowns is
Yeah.
is fucking awesome.
Mask order, yeah.
And I've seen some of your crazy rants, but I take it that you guys are like a musical team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we have a lot of music that we do together. Obviously, that's kind of a big thing. She does some solo stuff. I do some solo stuff. We do a lot together. But we have a very broad base of media, you could say, because I have a comic book series called Voluntary, the comic series. I also do a lot of promotion of unschooling with my page, The Honest Teacher. And I've been on a number of series interviews for that, too, including with Carrie McDonald, who's a senior fellow at Foundation for Economic Education. She has a great book called Unschooled, Raising Curious Children Outside the Conventional Classroom. She's amazing.
Great book.
Yeah, so, absolutely love her and her work. And then, we do quite a few other things, too, that are more, I guess you could say, non-just creative with my nonfiction books. So I have 2 books out right now. One is The Definitive Guide to Libertarian Voluntaryism. The other is A Vision for a Libertarian Future. And basically these books kind of help people understand the principles and give them a sense of incrementalism and how we can move toward a freer future. And I did do a talk on that for Liberty 101 here on Wednesday.
So one thing I wanted to ask you specifically about voluntaryism, I want you to explain that to us. And is it different than agorism? I don't know how exactly you say that, but I have a vague understanding of what this is. But tell us what it is.
Sure. So voluntaryism is the consent ethics of the philosophy of liberty. It's this idea that in order for us to act ethically, we need to have consent of others. And I think that this is pretty easy to relate to in any other context. When you're talking about a lot of crimes, a lot of times the difference between whether something is good or bad or criminal, non-criminal is whether there's consent, right? If you have sex with someone and they're agreeing to that, you're like, oh, okay, that's wonderful. But if they don't consent, we call that rape. And if you're, trading with somebody, right, and you're giving them money, they give you a nice taco, like Chad's Tacos over here, right? That's consensual. But if you go and you grab their taco and you run off with that without paying, that's going to be theft. And, so on and so forth, right? If you fight somebody and you're agreeing to that, you're in a boxing ring. But if someone just, beating you and try to mug you, that's a battery. So we understand that consent really is what meters ethical behavior. And it's kind of a standard that most people already expect for themselves. And that's part because you cannot want your consent to be violated. It's a logical impossibility, right? The act of wanting something is to consent to it. So you can't want your consent to be violated. So this kind of reciprocal, empathetic idea is very relatable for people to think about and adopt for themselves. And really where people get tripped up is when it comes to the state, where they are making excuses for non-consensual activity, aggressive behavior when someone has a badge or says, oh, I'm from the government. So a big part of my work is helping people apply their personal ethics more universally.
Yeah, because, and I talk about it similarly, perhaps, between violence and persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of our philosophy is driven by this idea that it's our job, if we want to cooperate with other people, to convince them that there is a win-win to be had, and to make the sales pitch. I suppose that's a vulgar way of thinking about it, because I don't think most people think about it that way. And it's everybody knows it's wrong to steal from your neighbor, but a lot of people get tripped up when they're like, well, I'm going to elect a guy, and that guy can steal from my neighbor to do things that I think we should do together.
Right.
That's the crux of it, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's not excusing what is known unethical behavior. You otherwise know this for yourself, and it's even taught to little kids. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, don't hurt others and don't take their stuff, kind of thing. Respect the golden rule. But suddenly, oh well, now if you vote, you can steal, you can murder, right? As long as you voted on it, now it's okay, and it's really ethical insanity.
If you're watching this show, you're probably wondering, is there a way I can support liberty and improve my life at the same time? Well, there is. Pack Crest Botanicals is a libertarian-owned company that makes botanical CBD products. I started using CBD oil to help me when I'm trying to sleep, and my 3 annoying cats won't leave me alone. Now I can just ignore them for a solid 8 hours and wake up feeling great. Not only are they run by our friends in the Liberty Movement, Packed Crest Botanicals also uses high-quality organic ingredients in everything they make. They sell tinctures, edibles, topicals, and botanical vapes. CBD oil can help with pain, insomnia, inflammation, anxiety, stress, arthritis, and more. Use discount code FREETHEPEOPLE to save 25% of your order. And if you select Free the People as your charitable organization at checkout, a portion of your purchase will be donated to us to help fight for freedom.
So
Yeah.
it's a philosophical platform, and agorism is perhaps slightly different because is kind of an opt-out strategy, right? Am
Yeah.
I getting this right?
Yeah.
Right. I would say agorism is more about strategy. It's like, okay, the state exists. How do we live as free as possible and still try to trade? And the point is like, okay, we need agorism. We need the black market to exist and be healthy, because while the state is controlling the white market and making it hard to sell things there, we need something for people to actually fall back on. And it's like a way to circumvent the state and still, trade with each other and get value from each other without seeking permission from the government. So I see it more as like tactics and strategy of how we transition to a more voluntarist or anarchist society, because what you're doing is actually giving real life examples that, hey, we can do this. We don't need the state to come in and regulate whatever, food, drugs, things that are here. We just need this sort of communication and ability to hold each other accountable. We don't need violence to do that. You can use your words. You can post about it. You can share knowledge with people. Like you said, it's really about choosing persuasion over coercion and respecting each other as individuals, but also staying strapped in case there are people who refuse, right, to talk to you, right? If someone's aggressing against you, you should be able to take action and defend your life from that person. So
one of the things that I think, would you guys identify as libertarian?
Yeah.
Small L libertarian.
It's an umbrella. Yeah, definitely
Certainly.
small L, not a party strategy. And I think generally here at Porcfest, everybody's some kind of a libertarian.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we spend most of our time fighting with each other about that 1% that we disagree on. But the general thing that I think Porcfest proves wrong is this mythology that libertarians are isolated. They are simply wanting to be left alone. And I don't think that that's the story of libertarianism at all. I think the power in community and proving that through cooperation we can do really cool things and solve problems and by the way provide a better unschooled education for our children than the machine has ever done. And so I love the emphasis on community here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to watch it on the inside because anybody that's ever been part of a community knows that there's plenty of arguments that go on.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's
we were just having one before we got on your show about using the word left or right.
And should we?
Right.
Let's continue this argument. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, I mean, I guess I personally like to be specific about actors and actions, and I find that sometimes if you use abstract labels like left and right without defining them, it can be easily misconstrued, your message. So I just, especially if you're talking to someone, if you're going to use labels like left and right or communist or socialist, it's always good to just define your terms and make sure that, you use the word the same as someone else. And if you don't, then now Now they can be like, oh, okay, you mean left in this context. And okay, I can agree with what you're saying here. So basically, I think it's fine to use those words, but I do think it is helpful from a communication standpoint to define your terms.
Yeah.
and,
I think
what you mean.
that's true. Most libertarians get pissed off at me because I describe myself as a radical Democrat. but I go on to explain what I mean about that, because I think democracy is not this idea that 50 plus 1 get to do whatever the hell they want to the other 49% of a community. It's the process, the market process, where everybody's voting all the time, and they're making choices, and they're buying things, they're deciding not to buy things, they're cooperating, they're deciding not to cooperate with certain people, they're trusting, they're not trusting. To me, that process is radically democratic because everybody gets what they want. And I think it's, and argue with me if you disagree, please, but to your point about defining our terms, sometimes we give up really, really packed words, potent words, beautiful words, like community, like, I mean, democracy, whether we like it or not, it's a religious term almost. When, you know, when Joe Biden talks about assaults on democracy, it sounds like it's an assault on the church or something.
Yeah.
But also like words like justice, and I think a lot of us accept the fact that those words have been stolen from us, and I'm like, I think we should just steal them back.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of communication and effectiveness, because, you know, at the end of the day, when you have political terms, they're always going to be loaded and people have their own ideas coming into it. So I agree here with Pho that defining your terms is important. You know, democracy typically connotes people voting, and so very often that will confuse people. I think on that they'll think, oh, okay, majoritarianism, you know, majority rule and collectivism, but you know, it's important to be able to use words that really are quick for people to understand and able to be, you know, kind of grasped and used in a way that makes people understand the principles better. I think that's, to me, what's most key. So personally, I don't typically use democracy in terms of defining those things. I like cooperation over collectivism. You know, because political collectivism is forcing people to a one-size-fits-all rule, you know, political rule, and cooperation is people actually coming together, and, as you said, you know, proverbially voting with their resources and with their time, with their associations. So, you know, it's just a matter of how it's used and how effective someone is at being a communicator. And if they're good enough to take it back, you know, more power to them. I mean, that's amazing. I would love for us to take every word back. That'd be fantastic. You know, but I laugh at the leftists, and I say this in the egalitarian sense of the people who are in the socialist or democratic socialist, you know, camp, and they try to say, oh, libertarianism is a leftist root word. I'm like, okay, well, too bad. I took it. You don't even believe in property rights. What are you gonna do? Yeah. You know. So.
Well, I'm in the camp of wanting to take liberal back, but that may be a hopeless project.
That's tough. That's a tough one too.
Because it's been. Pretty well hijacked. Yeah,
that's why I like voluntaryism. It's so neutral. People are like, what even is that? They have no preconceived biases about that. I can do that all day, and no one's going to be
hopefully
like, oh, that's evil. You know?
Hopefully voluntary is one of those universally, not like at least an 80%, 80-20 word where, I like voluntary.
Yeah. And most, you know, people would be like, oh, you like volunteering or something? I'm like, no, not volunteering, but, you know, that's the greatest confusion you get with that usually.
I like anarchist. That's a word that's been co-opted and used by the state to mean chaos, but I like standing up for and be like, no, I'm an anarchist. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. That means, you know, an anarchist is someone that just doesn't want mandatory rulers, and you own yourself.
So is it the same thing as a voluntarist?
I think you would get nuanced, but I kind of use it interchangeably. Yeah. Like, I will call, like, someone's like, oh, what are you? Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? And I'm like, no, you can call me an individualist. You can call me an anarchist. You can call me a voluntarist or an ANCAP. I'm just kind of, or libertarian. I kind of see those as interchangeable, but you might have more nuance of each of those words.
Sure. Yeah, well,
because I know there is nuance, but I see them as similar. Like, every single one of those, you know, libertarianism, anarchism, voluntarism, it's all about individual body and property rights. At the end of the day, that's the thing that is the founding principle of all of those, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so, you sort of acknowledge this, but anarchism is a very provocative word because
how it's been used,
how it's been used is when you use that in your work, and you find the provocativeness like a conversation starter or a conversation ender.
Have you ever thought about using CBD oil? You haven't? Well, think about it now. Are you thinking about it? Good, because now there's a way to support freedom and improve your life at the same time. Packrest Botanicals is a libertarian-owned company that makes a wide variety of botanical CBD products. I use CBD oil to soothe the sore muscles I get from constantly fighting the man here in Washington, D.C. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. Packcrest Botanicals uses high-quality organic ingredients in everything they make. And as libertarians, you won't have to worry about them hurting people or taking their stuff. They sell tinctures, edibles, topicals, and botanical vapes. CBD oil can help with pain, insomnia, inflammation, anxiety, stress, arthritis, and more. Use the discount code FREETHEPEOPLE to save 25% of your order, and if you select Free the People as your charitable organization at checkout, a portion of your purchase will be donated to help us keep fighting for freedom.
I would find it like a conversation starter, and you're right, it is very provocative. So often the first response is, "Oh, what do you mean you want anarchy? You want nothing? You want no order, no rules?" And I'm like, no, anarchy means no rulers, not no rules, not no respect of each other.
Yeah.
So I do find it as a good opportunity to clarify how that word has been hijacked by the states, like a good historical lesson or something.
It's the opposite of covering your face in black and sucker punching someone from behind.
Yeah. I'm like, those are tyrants.
Yeah.
This is just another form of authoritarians. Let's call them by their proper names here,
Yeah. So let's talk about the music, because this is something that I've been obsessed with for years, is getting out of politics. I'm trying to get out of politics myself. It's hard. It's like Godfather 3. They keep pulling you back in.
4 hours.
But I don't think that political solutions are particularly compelling if and until we connect with culture and get people to understand this fundamental choice between violence and cooperation.
Yeah.
I assume that's why you do what you do, but were you a musician before you were an anarchist? Are you an anarcho-musician?
No, I played the triangle in school. I played the recorder, but I never learned the guitar. I never took piano lessons or singing lessons. I never went through that. But in my room, I sang and rapped a lot, and I danced with my little sister and my family. And my family's really big into karaoke, so that was my experience with music. My whole childhood is karaokeing with my fam, and also with myself, and just exploring music and realizing wow, music is so powerful. It can if you can put words to a song in a certain way, that can just be timeless. And if you can capture a feeling or a sentiment in a song, that can stick with someone forever. You have people who, I'm one of them, who's fans for life of certain rap groups like Dead Prez. I follow them on Instagram, I check out what they're doing, and I'm like, wow, they made this Let's Get Free album. That's my favorite album by them, and it there's some socialist aspects to it, but I don't think it's from a really deep understanding of what socialism is. It's, again, definitions, right? So for them, socialism is more about community cooperation, actually, is how they talk about in the song. And the song actually, there are some songs about the public school system, the police state. And that was one of my first exposures of wow, the power of conscious rap, the power of conscious music. And I particularly like rap the most because you can go fast, you can go slow, you can kind of sing during it, and you can fit a lot of rich words in there. But versus songs are great too, but it's you just limited time, that's all.
Yeah. But
yeah, I find rap really great of a medium to try to like Mask Order, for example, the song I made, or Disobey, or I Did Not Consent, in 2 minutes, talking about how Duncan Lemp was murdered, talking about how with the PCR cycle test, that was a lie, how it just inflated of the viral content of some, in someone's body to make it seem like they have COVID way more than they actually do, that it's way more, things like that. And that's a bunch of context to put in 2 minutes. That's, it's fun to listen to. You could play it again and again. You can dance to it. Versus, a video, it can, after you see a video once, an informational one, you probably wouldn't watch it over and over just because you got the info, but there's something else with music that brings joy, in addition to the content being shared and what's being said. So.
I do think a lot of self-described socialists, maybe democratic socialists in particular, they're thinking about being social, and they don't know or they don't believe like the history of socialism and Mao's slaughter and
Yes.
Stalin's slaughter.
Yep.
They probably just don't know about it because
Yep.
they weren't taught any of that stuff. So I think there's a potential audience there, particularly, again, young. We were talking about this the other day when we were debating on stage. I think there's some truth to be said that at a certain age, most people stop thinking critically about what they believe and who they are because they've kind of settled in on whatever it is they settled for. So it makes a lot of sense to try to engage people while they're still in school, but certainly through music. The left has done this so well. I just used that word. The radical authoritarian progressive left.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We do what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're being
definitely
trauma
agree.
bonded in
They
their
can
in
be
school.
reached out to.
Yeah,
I was
'cause-
actually a democratic socialist. I loved Obama coming out, and I thought, we need to have welfare, but we got to be reasonable about it. We got to check up on people, make sure they're getting jobs. Like, I had that whole mindset because I was instilled going through K through 12 public school in the Washington State School District. It really taught me to fear the market. It taught me to fear people and to just have my life run where I act based on just fear of the unknown, fear of challenges, fear of conversation, and more getting me used to top-down control. Like, oh, okay, we need guns in the hands of certain people that we
good guys.
pick and choose to be the best. And I just I totally agree with you that a lot of these people just don't know, and so they were raised with that mindset that the world is scary, capitalism is scary, so therefore we need to pay taxes and not be free. I totally understand that cognitive dissonance is put on people, and especially children going through the prison school system. That's what I call it. So
Speaking of cognitive dissonance and the idea that only certain people should have guns, one of the most mysterious things in the modern world for me is why people who are so articulate on police violence are the same people insisting that you can't have a gun, that only the police can have guns.
right.
Explain.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty
Yeah,
clear
right?
that they don't have consistent philosophy
Yeah.
because they're reactionary. They're just
Right.
looking at these situations and be like, oh, see, they're racist and they're bad, but okay, now you should give these racist, violent people the
Right.
monopoly on guns. And it's because all they know is that government is a solution to their problems. That's all they can think about. Because as we were
Right.
talking about with school, young people have their lives centrally planned,
Yep.
for 13 years, and they're told what they must do to the tune of a bell, hour by hour, and they have their interests and their passions and their self-driven creativity shamed to extinction.
Yep.
And by the time they're done, they're so traumatized that they can't actually have consistency in their thinking because all they know is piecemeal or ad hoc ethics.
Yeah.
That's all they have, and so they repeat whatever they're told. And even when they think, oh yeah, I didn't really like school, they'll still defend it. They'll still defend their captors, just like they defend the police when it's time for them to do the violence that they think is good.
It's like Stockholm syndrome.
That's
Yeah.
that Stockholm syndrome because
Yeah.
that's all they know. All they know is okay, the government's the solution to life's problems, and they can't think outside the state.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
undoing that traumatic brainwashing is itself, I think, one of the biggest and most daunting processes in the libertarian realm is trying to get people
Yeah.
to undo all of that programming. And so that's a part of what we like to do is to help people unravel all those, but what about the roads and
Yeah.
and what about the children questions and things like that.
I think it helps to help people process and remember what was school like for you, because it's easy to just have some narrative and forget about your past. Be like, I didn't like school so much, but at least I learned math and English, but not really taking the time to be like, okay, what was it like before I started school? What was my life like? Oh yeah, I used to play outside all the time, hang out with, for example, for me, with my grandma and learn from her and whatever. to going to school and having, you know, any books I wanted to read shut down. It's like, no, you can't read that book you want to read. You can't read Harry Potter, whatever. You need to read what I tell you to. And then, you know, being forced to wake up so early and attend and listen to different adults for 8-9 hours a day. And then being given like really crappy high fructose corn syrup filled food. And then like 30 minutes of recess, or probably less now in certain places. I've heard like just 15 minutes for kids in one day. It really breaks you down.
It sounds like you're talking about prison.
It is a prison.
Yeah.
It literally is a prison.
Yeah.
I mean, children can't leave, and parents are threatened with violence in jail if they don't send their children to school or get legal permission from the government to not send their kids to school. It's the most insidious thing, and it is the precise reason why statism is so rampant in the world today. Every single big government, you look at China, you look at Germany, UK, anywhere, their public school system is alive, you know, and taking these kids in and churning out people who will just follow authority blindly and not think for themselves, and like you said, not think outside the state, and just have the premise that they can never shake and be mad at people for trying to shake them out of their premise that the state is necessary, that coercion is necessary for peace, which is so contradictory saying that, right? To have a civil society, we need to uncivilly, you know, put you in jail if you don't listen. Like, that's insane. That's literally moral insanity, you know, advocating for one thing yet doing the opposite. That's like...
At Kibbe on Liberty, freedom is a lifestyle 24/7, something you live and breathe and wear every day. If that describes you, you need the very best Liberty swag in the market today, just like this shirt I happen to be wearing. Go to freethepeople.org/KOL and check out our exciting merch. You too can love Liberty and look cool.
Extremely well said. But I have to know, Jack, did you also pick up the triangle when you were in high school?
No, I got to, you know, have like a quick year of piano. I did do a little recorder. And I had this French horn for a bit, but I hated it. They were forcing me to take it. Again, there's a part of compulsory schooling while I'm so against it. They forced me to pick an instrument. It was the French horn.
The French horn.
The French horn did me in. That turned me libertarian, right? And I would just break the strings on it because, you know, it has these like 3 buttons, and I'm just like, I don't want to play, so I'd intentionally squeeze it extra hard so I'd get out of it. And it was just gross because there's all this spittle inside. You had to turn around to drain it, so it's, you know, putting all my spit down on the ground. It was gross. So, you know, I didn't really have as much of a crazy musical background or anything like that, but I knew how to produce because I had some experience, you could say, with music production and voiceover stuff. Working on an Xbox 360 game, I was actually a voice actor for one and had done a few things. So I was like, okay, let's take our shot at doing some music together. And we did a parody song at first, and then eventually we got to the point like, okay, let's do this for real. And we went to the studio, we did a music video, and that was legendary. ANCAP Grind, one of the classics of our Liberty music. So
one of my favorite things with the music process is just like working on the lyrics together. You know, it's a fun process to try and be like, oh, let's add this in, or this idea, or let's say it this way. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
So what's your best performing video?
Mask Order.
Yeah,
was
Mask Order.
The most popular, because that's
Which
the most
makes
widespread.
sense.
Because outside of our niche area here, lots of people didn't like the mask orders and the shutdowns, lockdowns, and even they were playing it at the Canadian Truckers rally. So they were sending us videos of them playing it at the rally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Wasn't expecting that.
I was like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, they're in the truck. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, that's Canada, and they're playing our song. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and the second song after that, that's the most viewed, at least on YouTube, is ANCAP Grind. So that's actually pretty cool. That's my second viewed video.
Big in Brazil.
It's specifically about anarcho-capitalism and, you know, trading in the market and stuff like that.
So after Eric July, who actually raps about praxeology, you guys are bringing some pretty heavy ideas to music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
trying
our
to,
lyrics are
yeah.
very specific and
Eric
even very
was definitely
niche.
a big inspiration for me.
Yeah,
as
we
well.
love backwards. So Eric, and comics too, obviously, because he does the Ripperverse.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was funny because he actually, did music first, then went to comics, and I did comics first, and I'm into music.
Yeah,
We kind of
it's the
have little
reverse.
parallel, systems here going on.
Yeah.
A
It's
lot of
kinda funny.
crossover. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a ramble tangent on Canadian truckers. I'm convinced that, and it's awesome that they're playing your rap videos there for inspiration, because I don't think that our government would have unwound lockdowns if it wasn't for the Canadian truckers. They were scared to death that the working class in our country was finally going to rise up, and
They were
I'm both-
planning to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were planning to. One of my great heartbreaks was that the American people put up with this for so long, and I realized that there's so much coercion involved, but I expected all of those non-essential workers to say "fuck you" pretty early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But people, I've said that the opposite of liberty is fear, and fearful people do the most horrific things to each other,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that's where
That's
we
it,
were.
fear.
But shout out to Canadian truckers, man.
Yeah.
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 They
Very
took a
great.
stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's so you guys are continuing to make music videos,
Mm-hmm.
and what's the big project, or is it you just constantly commenting on what's going on, or do you have like some master plan that you can tell us about?
Oh, well, I don't know if there's a master plan for music yet.
We certainly are continuing to produce music on an
Yeah.
ongoing basis. So we're always doing it. We have our next music video actually being shot next month. So we're shooting Break the Great Reset. That's going to be a great video to do. We have a little
Oh, yeah.
Klaus Schwab action.
Yeah.
And we also do events too. So we have an event that we're throwing up, a range event with Lou Perez. He's
Oh,
going to be
who
doing
you
a
had
comedy
yesterday.
show at the gun range called Don't Shoot Lou, which we do take seriously.
Hopefully
Please
he
don't
doesn't
shoot Lou.
recycle the same joke.
Yeah.
So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And so we're going to be doing that, and then we have my comic book series is finishing up a remaster, and then we're going to have the next arc campaign come out late fall, early winter. So that's super awesome because I've been doing that stuff for about 10 years, and we finally had a remaster from the first issues because there were some problems with companies I was working with, and I just started doing it on my own and fixed everything.
Oh, and you're working on your third book.
Oh, and I'm working on my third nonfiction book
the
now.
trilogy of
That
your-
should be out probably end of this year, no later than January 2024, but maybe sooner because I think it's really needed. So, and I'm really excited with those books because I've just heard nothing but good things from people, even people here who came to see my talk. They are like, wow, this is incredible how well you put this into such a concise and neat package. It's just so relatable, as opposed to being like, oh, here, read Human Action right off the bat. It's like, okay, yeah, 1,000-page economic treatise is a little daunting for a family, and someone to read on a Saturday
Yeah,
afternoon. So my books are nice.
Fancy family readings.
Yeah, right. I put it into 100 pages with further reading and references. So again, if you want to dive deeper, you can, but I make it so it's accessible for anybody who's busy with life and work to not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to read this book. I'm never going to finish this.
Yeah.
And that was my goal is, make it digestible, but well-reasoned and something you can literally take away and start defending the principles right off the bat without a hitch. So, yeah.
I guess if I would try to summarize, I guess our master plan or our ultimate goal is, so we call ourselves Trees of Liberty. I mean, I have the Philosopher, he's Jack Lloyd, but together we are under this org that we came up with together called Trees of Liberty. And that's ultimately our goal is, whatever medium, we're communicating in person being the most powerful, right? Shaking hands with people, that one-to-one, like, conversation about your actual history. Our goal is to bring the principles of liberty and plant those trees everywhere so that people get it, and it is spreading. And just like you were saying with, Porcfest itself is an illustration of how the liberty movement has grown. Like, you saw it for yourself, how in the early days of Porcfest, or early years, it's probably more single people. It's probably more the first intellectuals who really dove deep and read, Rothbard's Conceived in Liberty or something, or Man, Economy, and State.
Are you throwing shade at me? Because
Is that you?
you're kind of describing me.
Uh-oh,
so.
and Tom
It's
Woods,
you.
and AKA the nerds
A lot
were
of dorky
first.
single dudes
That's right, baby.
actually carrying their earmarked copy of Human Action.
That's
There's
right.
stereotypes I'm not saying you're autistic, but there's stereotypes of autism for a reason. But it's just more like the idea that, like, yes, in the early days, it took some of those people who, you know, maybe they were outcasted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that for them to be like, oh, wow, the system rejects me. These people reject me. I don't want to conform to the school system.
Yeah.
They were the ones that were the pioneers of new thoughts and looking out, like you and Tom. And those are the people I think of, Stefan Molyneux, Mises Institute, you know, like they're the ones who helped to spread these ideas. And over time now suddenly more women are actually being pulled in and attracted to the philosophy. And then as you saw at Porcfest, like people hooked up and got married and had babies. And now Porcfest 20th anniversary is like full of so many kids. Like I met this one kid who was like, yeah, I've been coming here since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 14 now. And he's like, I love coming here every year. I've made so many friends. And when we leave, I stay in touch with them throughout the year.
Yeah.
And it's so incredible. I'm like, that's precisely the world I want children, humans, to be raised in.
Yeah. The cultural evolution from book dorks who argue about that stuff. I mean, I think most social movements, intellectual movements sometimes start that way where, you know, somebody's arguing about a very substantial idea and there's only a dozen of them, and they create a circular firing squad, and then they kick people out of it. But if it's a good idea and it takes seed, pretty soon you have families, and you have not just book nerds, but creatives and people that actually know how to make things happen.
Yes.
Producers.
Yeah. CEOs, like all kinds of people now. Yeah.
By the way, I'm going to test this theory on you, and maybe it's slightly sexist, but I've always argued that the vibrancy of a social movement is when the ladies start showing up, because women don't waste their time sitting around in circles arguing about the footnotes in Mises. Is that sexist, or is it true, or is it both?
Stereotypically, I do kind of have noticed that trend. Yeah, like more often than not, like women I've spoken to in the liberty movement are like, okay, yeah, I don't really care to argue the fucking nuances of, I don't know, like scarcity or something. Like, they're like, no, how do I raise my children peacefully? How do I have babies? How do I cook? You know, how do I be a good wife? And like it can be stereotypical. Not all women. I've met women who are definitely very intellectual and not about having kids or whatever. But I definitely think there's a trend about that for sure. Whereas men can get more heated into like, no, this word means this, and let's talk for 3 hours about some really nuanced topic. So,
but also like, at least I can extrapolate from my family. I am kind of I'm the sex symbol that sits around quoting Mises, and my wife is the person that knows how to actually get shit done. I don't know if she's listening.
Oh, your wife over there?
Oh yeah, she's hiding.
She sees you.
Oh,
she
just gave you a serious stare.
She knows. I only recently discovered that she tracks me on my phone.
Like so key logging?
It's like the
she's
NSA.
She's kind of like my little deep state.
Right.
Wow,
She's your FBI agent. You got
NSA
a personal
at home.
one.
Yeah. Okay, so give us, let's wrap this up. Give us a blatant promotion for where we can find you and the work you're doing. I have a card, Trees of Liberty, LLC. So you're a for-profit production thing.
No, we're definitely for profit. We do not shun profit or the word profit. But my stuff you can find at jackvloyd.com. That's the double L in the Lloyd. Jack V as in voluntarist Lloyd.com, or Volcomic VOL. That's V as in victory, VOLCOMIC, volcomic.com. Between there, you can pretty much find most everything. But I'm everywhere. I'm all over the internet. I'm in places that you'll even, be totally surprised by. Like some person's like, hey, why are you doing this hair loss video? I had no idea. But I'll be there somewhere. You'll find me. There's a lot of cool things, and every time someone discovers something, like, wait, you also do this and you also do this, so it's just hard to encapsulate for people. It's a little overwhelming. But you got your own places too.
Yeah, for me, you can find my website. It's thepholosopher.com, and that's philosopher spelled with the O. So PHOLOSOPHER, the Philosopher. And from there you can find my Twitter, Instagram, Minds,
Ecency.
Float. Okay,
YouTube.
well, that changed. YouTube,
Twitter.
Still on Facebook. And yeah, Twitter. Yep.
Smoke signal.
Yeah, like
A smoke signal. In
no
the
pressure,
sky.
but I'm counting on you guys to transform the culture.
Well, thank you.
So that
No
we
pressure,
no
right.
longer produce mindless statists who are going to enslave us all.
Yeah.
Well, we've been working
do our
on it.
best.
It's been good so far. Started off doing all kinds of interesting things. One of the things I really enjoyed was Anarchy Ball back in the day. So I was one of the original admins of Anarchy Ball. That was a very popular meme trend thing. This ball that was black and yellow, representing ANCAPs, and then transitioned to doing more and more stuff. And that's when we got working together and really took it to the next level with music and skits.
Yeah,
And educational
videos,
videos, and
presentational
we got to work
videos.
with Firearms Policy Coalition on some cool stuff like 3 reasons to
Yeah.
abolish the ATF.
Right. We had a red flag reality campaign where we were trying to, this is back when Trump was in power and calling for red flag laws, and we wanted to make a series of videos to highlight why red flag laws are dangerous. And FPC was a huge funder of that, and we
Thank you.
produced, yeah, thanks FPC. And we had one skit, like a fun skit about gun control, and then a more presentational video about abolishing the ATF, and then another one about how you're actually like safer in school statistically, and you're more likely to die, if you're a kid or something, in like what was it,
The
die by
bus?
lightning, or even die
yeah,
in a bus, like
Right.
in
we-
an accident, than
lightning,
an actual
drowning,
school shooting.
yeah.
So it was really trying to like push for that, and
Yeah.
and so we try to also just stay in touch with what the hell is going on and what narrative the current people in power of the corporate press or politicians are saying, and really trying to bring a different alternative view to whatever the current hot button issue is, whether it's abortion, that comes in waves. Seems like with the media cycles, they do that. But like, how do we bring outrage about a certain topic and make as many people as possible myopically focus and afraid of something like whether your neighbor gets a private abortion? Like, that's none of your business. Whether your neighbor owns a gun or not. Like, basically trying to get people like in fear about their neighbors. And then that's kind of the trend I see, like, and whether it's public school or when you leave public school and you watch television, which you shouldn't, or mainstream TV. I mean, maybe you can check in and just be like curious, but recognize it's like constant programming, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, that's where you can find me, thepholosopher.com.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us
Yeah.
on. It's been an honor.
Yeah, it's
Thanks, Matt,
Good to get
for
to know you
having us
guys,
here.
and I'm waiting for the next cultural bombshell.
Us too. We'll see how this music video does. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we'll do
we got
our
some
best.
special costume. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
We're going to be chasing Klaus Schwab
Who's
around
dressing
Tampa.
like Klaus Schwab? Is it you?
No,
I
his
won't be. I'm
brother.
going to be working on the production side this time. But my brother, Josiah, he's a great set support. He's always making cameos and things. So if you're a fan of our lore, you'll trace him in different videos,
he's in
like in
a
different
lot of my
skits or
videos,
music
like-
videos. Like he was even
Yeah.
at Tom Woods' 2000th on the stage
Yeah.
doing their battle for Family
He
Feud.
was dressed as
So
Vegeta
he's kind
from
of like
Dragon
one of
Ball
those
Z.
Easter eggs that you'll see in different places, and when you connect the dots, you're finally like, oh wait,
Yeah.
he's everywhere.
Why does Klaus Schwab dress like Palpatine? Like,
It was I forgot the university's name. I just forgot. Was it Liechtenstein? It was actually a specific outfit for doctoral robes. He was being given an honorary doctorate. So it was more benign technically in terms of what he was wearing, but it was like a perfect villain costume.
The
You're
meme was- the
this
memes
is
are
perfect.
hilarious.
Yes,
Yeah.
this encapsulates you and your whole vibe entirely. So you got to run with
So
that.
true. Yeah.
yeah, why are you giving me such an honest answer? I wanted to hear about some clandestine.
Sorry,
attempt
yeah,
to
no
destroy the
clickbait
world,
titles for
but-
you today. Yeah, you're getting
No.
5 views on this now.
Well, thank you guys. It hasn't rained yet, so we lucked out.
Woohoo, yeah.
Yeah, we did. Woo!
Thank you, Matt.
Cool,
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the conversation, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and also ring the bell for notifications. And if you want to know more about Free the People, go to freethepeople.org.